Hello and welcome to Sideline Story, your destination for sports news, analysis and discussions. I'm Yang Guang. This week we move our focus to Xabi Alonso's exit from Real Madrid. What triggered the second decision? Should Real adjust their team construction method? To unpack the questions, I'm joined here with my fantastic co-hosts Tian Yu and Brendan Yates. Alright, it seems like a good season to fire coaches. We just finished our analysis of Ruben Amorim's departure from Man United. Now Xabi Alonso was fired by Real Madrid following their Spanish Super Cup final loss to Barcelona just 8 months after he took charge. So Tian Yu, as a Real fan, how would you assess Xabi Alonso's coaching time at Real, and what did he do the best and the worst in these 8 months?
Well, just give a objective review from a Real Madrid fan's perspective. I would say his time in the club was quite disappointing. I mean, because on the pitch, we didn't really see clear improvements over last season. I mean, our game plan this season basically revolves around how to get Mbappe score more goals. And if Mbappe wasn't in his top form, the team was struggling. The attacks was, unorganized, the build-up was lacking, and the defense looks pretty shaky, I would say. And also, off the pitch, things weren't quite great either. I mean, there were clearly more and more signs of how tensions are growing in the dressing room. I mean, a lot of our key players clearly weren't happy about their positions in the game, and it felt like Alonso was giving them too many instructions, and the players just didn't buy in his philosophy or his ideas. But that said, if we take a look back, I mean, he did give fans like me some hope in the beginning. I mean, we had a huge winning streak in La Liga. We get to beat Barcelona finally in Clásico at Bernabeu, and he even uncovered a genius striker for us, Gonzalo Garcia, whose performance I think sometimes reminded me of Raul in certain games. Mm-hmm. So for a coach managing a club this big for the first time, I think he deserves some credit. And also personally, as a Real fan, I respect him a lot, as both as a former legend, Real Madrid legend, and as a head coach. And actually, I wished the club would have given him more time, since we are in a rebuilding phase. But it's too late to say this, because after that Spanish Cup final loss to Barcelona, everything just draws to a close. But I don't think that Spanish Cup final loss to Barcelona was the real reason that he got fired. I think the real issue was how he handled the star players, especially Kylian Mbappe. Because I've recently watched this very viral video on social media that shows after the Spanish Cup final, Alonso asked the players to line up, to pay respect, to show respect to the champion. But Mbappe said no, and he just kind of told everyone to head back to the locker room directly and ignore the order. And what's strange is that the whole team is just following him to the dressing room.
Yeah, seems like he's the coach.
Yeah,
Mbappe.
Yes, leaving Alonso there completely, bewildered and awkward. So that moment basically said everything about how he got fired. I mean, when a player had more authority over a coach, the clock is basically ticking for him. So yeah, I think I'm not here to judge Mbappe's behavior, though honestly, I think it's completely disrespectful both to the opponent team, to the tradition, and to the manager. But my point is very simple. Alonso clearly lost control over the dressing room, and that's probably the biggest reason that he got fired in the first place.
Yeah, it seems like you have more problems with Mbappe than Xabi Alonso. We will leave that for another episode maybe. Okay, now If we check the stats here, under Xabi Alonso, Real Madrid's winning rate stood around at 70%. Not bad, it's actually very good.
Yeah.
And also, he directed some iconic victories like the La Liga win over Barcelona, ending street losses to the El Clasico rivals. But meantime, we saw some inconsistency from the team recently, and his relationship with certain players like Vinicius Jr. became really intense. So, Brandon, combined all these factors, how do you like Xabi Alonso's Real Madrid? What are the contributions and shortcomings?
Look, I think it's a mixed bag. Like you said, his win percentage was up there with the likes of, legends like Mourinho and Carlo Ancelotti. But I think the dip in form in 2025 was very concerning for Madrid higher ups. And even though Jude Bellingham has come out in the last 24 hours and said that the reports of a breakdown in relationships between at least him and Xabi Alonso were false. It did seem like, there were multiple instances where there was definitely tensions in the dressing room. Like, Tian, you mentioned that video of Kylian Mbappe, seeming to have more control over the players than Xabi Alonso did. But then again, maybe at that point, maybe the players knew that he was going, and maybe they thought like, why should we listen to this guy if he's leaving? And he's also all he's won is a Bundesliga title and nothing else, whereas they're like Champions League winners, World Cup winners. So when you bring in somebody like that who's also very young and inexperienced, even though, I mean, I don't agree with the actions of Kylian Mbappe, but I also think like maybe Madrid made a mistake bringing in a guy that has not achieved anything near what some of those players have achieved. How do you control a group of players that feel like they are more successful and more important in the game than the manager? So maybe that was a mistake from the Madrid higher ups, thinking that these players would automatically respect this guy, which I don't think was going to happen. And I think that was probably the issue, is that, Xabi Alonso came in and, had a fantastic record at Bayer Leverkusen and was a manager on the up. But you don't bring a manager that's on the up to Real Madrid. You bring the best manager in the world that is the most respected manager in the game to Real Madrid. Otherwise, the players will just not follow your orders. And if you are going to bring in somebody that is inexperienced, you kind of need to fit in with the Real Madrid philosophy, which historically has relied more on individual talent to go out there and do their thing and win games in a kind of swashbuckling attacking style, as opposed to being very reliant on heavy possession, heavy tactics, defensive resolution and that sort of thing, which Xabi Alonso has become very renowned for, and he seemed to try and instill in Real Madrid. And I think Real Madrid players that are these massive superstars are not going to want to adapt their game for somebody that hasn't proven themselves on the global stage. So I think there was definitely a breakdown there. But look, in terms of the positives, I think Xabi Alonso came in and tried to, solidify Real Madrid, which is what I think a lot of fans wanted. I know Tian, you mentioned in previous podcasts, he wanted to see a little bit more defensive reliability, a little bit more tactics, and but again, also try and find solutions to Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius, which never seemed to happen. And like Tian, you mentioned, a couple of young players have been discovered. So I mean, there have been a couple of promising signs for Xabi Alonso. I think that the signs were there in terms of Xabi Alonso having a future as a manager, but having a future as a Real Madrid manager, and controlling this group of players, and also changing the style of play at a club that has relied on a different style of play for so many years to bring them success, is probably a mistake. Like we've seen with Manchester United, managers that have come in and tried to change the DNA of a club to suit their tactics or to suit the evolution of the game is just not working. And the two biggest clubs in the world are Real Madrid and Manchester United, and both clubs keep trying to bring in the new styles of play, change the DNA of the club, and think that they're going to achieve success that was achieved in the past, and it's just not going to happen. And I think Real Madrid have now tried it and have realized that it's not going to work.
Right. Jurgen Klopp said he received several calls after Xabi Alonso was fired by Real, but none of them were from Real Madrid. But Jurgen Klopp, to me, is another excellent man manager. He really inspires his players to the next level. man management, I mean, how to get along with the players is now a big, big subject in the coach's education, especially at clubs like Real Madrid, which gathers the best players in the world. We saw successful cases in Carlo Ancelotti and Zinedine Zidane. You don't see them develop a unique, school of style or style of tactics of their own, but they always keep a harmonious and cohesive team environment. So this raises a broader debate or question here. While tacticians like Pep Guardiola remain extremely high, extremely influential still, it seems like in an era of superstar ego, mental health awareness, packed game schedules, the manager's ability to, get along with the players, manage different personalities, handle their relationship with different, staff, is becoming more crucial than ever. The days when figures like Alex Ferguson could throw a boot to David Beckham are long gone, and today's football calls for different leadership from coaches. So, Tianyu, do you believe the manager's ability to connect with and manage the players has surpassed their tactical knowledge? Why or why not?
Well, I must say I don't fully agree with that, because I think tactics still matter a lot in a head coach's portfolio. I mean, like you just mentioned, take Pep Guardiola as an example, who did a consistently successful job with his tactical excellence, and also Xabi Alonso at Leverkusen, who he was praised for his tactical ideas there. But what I do think is that many modern coaches nowadays, they lack a certain degree of flexibility. I think what they believe is that if players just follow exactly the plan they devise perfectly, success will just automatically come, which I think is kind of runs contrary to the reality. I mean, I want to take Carlo Ancelotti as the opposite example here, because we know that he's famous for being a man manager for a long time, but people forget he's also a top level tactician. I mean, he started his coaching career in Parma, where he stuck strictly to a 4-4-2 formation, which led the team to the second place that season. But then at Juventus, he changed his favorite formation just to give Zidane more freedom in the front. And also, when he went to AC Milan, he created the famous Christmas tree formation, which allowed players like Kaká, André Pirlo, and Inzaghi to all play to their strengths at the same time. And also, as we already know, at Real Madrid, he found ways to make star players like Cristiano, Benzema, Gareth Bale, they all shine and feel happy at the same time. So I think that's the key difference here. In Alonso's case, he wanted to use a high pressing strategy when he first came to Real Madrid, but just because of Mbappe didn't want to press at all, the system collapsed. His tactics didn't work out. And he pushed Rodrigo aside, saying there's basically no role for Rodrigo to play in the new squad. But Rodrigo later proved he could still be that free attacker who does a bit of everything, just like last season. And also he wanted Arda Güler to play like Luka Modric or Toni Kroos to be the anchor man in the backline. But that role needs a lot of experience, and Güler his level isn't there yet. So I think every Real Madrid player is excellent individually, but when Alonso tried to force them to play his system, things didn't click. So I think sometimes the solution isn't forcing your idea, it's adjusting it. So yes, I think managing people is still very important for a head coach, but at the end of the day, I think the priority is still finding the right tactics that fits the squad you actually have, and that means being willing to tweak your philosophy if necessary.
Yeah, you need to balance these two things.
Yeah.
I mean, in extreme cases, when you have the best of the best players in the world, tactics just don't matter anymore. It makes so much sense in the NBA All-Star game. I think one of the most useless jobs in the world is the head coach of the All-Star
Yeah.
game
Yeah.
team. I mean, I can be the
Or
All-Star
the dream
team.
team, the Olympic dream team, right? I don't think there were many
Yeah.
tactics there either.
In timeouts, I just tell the players, just play.
Yeah.
Do your thing. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, before we move on, here's a quick review of the biggest sports headlines in China and around the world for the past week.
In table tennis, Zhu Yuling, representing the Macau Special Administrative Region, has claimed the women's singles title at the World Table Tennis Champions Doha tournament. This was the maiden WTT Champions Trophy for Zhu, who returned to the international stage in September 2024 after 4 years away. She overcame an early deficit to beat world number 4 Chen Xingtong of China, adding another big honor after her 2025 United States Smash crown. Zhu said she doesn't want to leave any regrets.
I know that if I want to keep competing and keep going forward, I have to treat every single day and every match and every experience as one of the last in my career. I don't want to leave any regrets. So I want to keep working hard in my career and in my life so that I can prepare for my future.
In football, China has reached the knockout stage of the AFC Under-23 Asian Cup for the first time. It came after a goalless draw between China and Thailand in the final Group D match in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. China forward Wang Yudong expressed satisfaction towards the result.
I'm very happy. We handled every step well and achieved our goal. Everyone performed very well, and we also fully executed the head coach requirements.
Earlier, they claimed a 1-0 win over Australia, with defender Peng Xiao scoring on a volley late in the first half. Manchester United has confirmed the appointment of Michael Carrick as the head coach until the end of the 2025-26 season. As a former United midfielder, Carrick returns to the club with a coaching team comprising former England assistant Steve Holland. Man United sacked Ruben Amorim on January the 5th after 14 months at the helm, with Darren Fletcher stepping in as caretaker manager for 2 games before Carrick's appointment. Senegal advanced to the Africa Cup of Nations final after beating Egypt 1-0, while Morocco reached the final by defeating Nigeria 4-2 on penalties. The defeat marked another painful chapter for Egypt, the tournament's most successful nation with 7 titles, whose last AFCON triumph still dates back to 2010. For Egyptian star forward Mohamed Salah, the wait for an African Cup of Nations title continues. This was his 5th AFCON appearance without lifting the trophy, following final defeats in 2017 and 2022 and another knockout exit this time. FIFA says it received more than 500 million ticket requests for the 2026 World Cup in just 33 days, calling it a landmark moment for global sports. The 48-team tournament, co-hosted by the US, Mexico, and Canada, attracted applications from all 211 FIFA member nations, averaging 15 million requests per day. Germany, England, Brazil, and Argentina led demand outside the host countries, with Colombia versus Portugal in Miami the most sought-after match.
Welcome back. Housing established stars like Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius Jr., Jude Bellingham. Real Madrid is in a fascinating juncture right now. Their choice of next coach might define what kind of path they are going to take going forward. Yeah. Real has long embraced a superstar policy in team construction. It's part of their DNA. But to me, the reason why Florentino Perez chose Xabi Alonso in the first place was an attempted shift from that tradition. I mean, compared to Barcelona, Real Madrid's financial health is quite stable, but they still have enormous spending every month, even every day. So Real didn't sign any big names the past summer, and no news came so far this winter. Mbappe was a free transfer. These are all signals to me that Florentino tried to curb their spending. and seek a more consistent and sustainable approach in transfer markets and team construction. Unfortunately, the appointment of Xabi Alonso fell through finally. I recall reading an interesting comment online lately. At Real, coaches are just colleagues with the players. They don't give commands, they coordinate. But in an era of transfer inflation, largely driven by, Premier League clubs, is the superstar model still sustainable? Should Real rely on its old formula to pick a man manager and leave the rest to the players, or is it time for a change? Should the club instead pursue a tactical innovator who can design a new system for this evolving team? Tianyu, what do you think?
Well, honestly, I don't know who's truly qualified for this job right now, because I think the first thing Real Madrid needs right now is a system that, like you guys mentioned, fits all the star players together, especially fits Mbappe. And I want to talk about Mbappe now. I like Mbappe as a player. I think his speed, his explosive speed, and his fascinating finishing ability is absolutely top class. But I think sometimes he's just too selfish on the pitch, and that can hurt the team. No matter how big a star you are, you still have responsibilities. Even his football icon, our football icon, Cristiano Ronaldo, he did plenty of dirty work back in the days. I mean, battling defenders in the box, drawing markers away, creating spaces for his teammates. I mean, being the top scorer doesn't mean you can just stand there and do nothing. So here's the thing. I think Mbappe isn't going anywhere for the next 2 or 3 years because he remains Florentino's favorite player. So the next coach for Real Madrid has to keep Mbappe happy and also at the same time keep the team balanced defensively. So maybe someone like Didier Deschamps, if he leaves the French national team, or Zinedine Zidane, who has a bigger resume than Mbappe does, who can actually make him listen. Also, yeah, like you guys mentioned, there's rumors about Jurgen Klopp potentially coming to take the helm. I mean, personally, I love Klopp's football style. I like his excitement, the adrenaline arising football style. But let's be honest, I think his high pressing style doesn't really work if your biggest star doesn't press at all. So yeah, that would be a big question mark if he really comes to Real Madrid. So as for the current coach, Arbeloa, the only thing I can say right now is that I don't expect from him too much. But I genuinely wish him luck, because really managing Real Madrid is arguably one of the toughest jobs right now in football on this planet.
Right. What the manager needs to do with Real is not to, tell the players what to do, forcefully, command your tactics to the players, but, assemble the right players that can play with each other, click with each other, build their chemistry, and, just while preserving the freedom of play for the players. Yeah, that's...
Or adapt, right? I mean, I feel like this is what's so surprising to me. I don't know why so many of these world-class head coaches that are supposedly tactical geniuses have this inability to adapt. Like, when you come into a club like Real Madrid, you might, let's say, yes, Jurgen Klopp had a style of play that worked at Liverpool, but I also don't think he's a stupid man. I think that he would go into Real Madrid and realize, okay, I've got my style of play that works at Real Madrid. Let me come into the club. Let me analyze the players and the weapons that I have at my disposal and adapt my style to best fit what I've got going forward. And it seems like so many young managers, Xabi Alonso and Ruben Amorim, have the complete inability to do that, which I think is astounding. You've got like one tactic, seriously?
Okay, before we go, let's talk about Xabi Alonso. Tianyu, very briefly, considering his style and career trajectory, what's the ideal next step for him?
There's rumors going around that saying that he might replace Arne Slot in Liverpool, but I don't think so, because I think he's done with coaching super power clubs, because he's been through this, and I think his best choice may be going to a smaller club, but also established club like AC Milan,
or Dortmund.
PSG if Luis Enrique goes. But the most important thing for him, I think, is to learn, to adapt, like we all talked about. And yeah, as a Real fan, I just want to wish him well, because I don't think he's a bad coach. I just think maybe Real Madrid came too early for him in his coaching career.
Right. Brandon, very briefly, should Alonso pick a smaller side to rebuild reputation or take charge another giant club to prove his capabilities?
I think Liverpool could actually be a good move, because I think that they have a style at the moment that's not working. It seems like their superstar players are on their way out. I don't think Salah's going to be around for much longer. I think there's a squad of players there that are adaptable. So I think if he did join another giant club, I think Liverpool would be perfect for that.
All right, let's see where Alonso's next stop would be and how things will look for Real in the rest of the season. With that, we end this episode of Sideline Story. Thank you so much for joining us. Subscribe to Sideline Story and leave your comments wherever you listen to podcasts. For more information, you can also check our website at radio.cgtn.com. Until next time, stay on the sidelines with us.